All right, next up in our ACC preview is my school. Go from Zach Zimmerman's school in Stanford to my school now in the Syracuse Orange. Despite never being a head coach before, Fran Brown hit the ground running in Cuse last year. They finished with a 10-3 record, and they finished number 20 in the final AP poll. Their best season in 6 years. Back when I was I believe, sophomore at Syracuse.
Long time ago, if you can't even remember.
Yes, so my sophomore year at Cuse is the last time they were that good in a season. Their biggest reason for success was Kyle McCord transferring in from Ohio State. He led the nation with 4,779 passing yards, which was nearly 500 more than any other quarterback in college football. Even though he's gone, and Oronde Gadsden's gone, and some of their top receivers are gone too, they could still have a good passing game in 2025. They brought in Steve Angeli from Notre Dame. They brought in Rickie Collins too from LSU. They're kind of battling it out at quarterback right now, and still have some promising talent at wide receiver too, but their defense has to be better. That starts up front. Now, the unfortunate part for Syracuse, and a big reason why they went 10-3 last year, was the schedule was relatively easy. I know they beat Miami, which is a big win. Still a relatively easy schedule. They have the hardest schedule in the ACC in 2025, according to our power rankings. The top 10 hardest schedule in the country. All of their most difficult games, Dalton, are on the road too. It is an unforgiving schedule. So that's why 10-3 last year, win total right now is 5.5. That schedule is brutal for Syracuse this year.
Yeah, and it felt like that was the team. This is a team that really, last year's roster is like, wow, they really just put it all together, right? With McCord coming in from Ohio State, Gadsden a senior, so many guys that came in and were Trevor Pena. Now he's not even there. He's off to your other school in Penn State, and just so many things that came together, right? But you mentioned it. The hope is that the passing game can still be solid. We're assuming it's going to be Steve Angeli.
I would assume so.
We think so. I know they have Rickie Collins, LSU transfer Rickie Collins.
Fran Brown named Rickie Collins the starter in March. But then, 2 weeks later, they brought in Steve Angeli.
That was before they had Angeli. And Angeli, look, is not even as proven as McCord, because McCord at least had an entire year to start at Ohio State, right? Whereas Angeli never made he made one career start, the bowl game 2 years ago. He had one career start, and he's looked decent. I think Angeli could do some of the same things that McCord did. We just haven't seen as much of it, right? But when you have Angeli, Darryl Gill, although he's had some off-field issues, Jonte Cook was a former 5-star recruit at Texas, right? Emmanuel Ross was a 4-star. It feels like Fran Brown, the biggest ray of hope is that he's gotten really a lot of momentum on the recruiting side, right? He's an excellent recruiter. Just trying to figure out year to year, how much can we get in the portal to help us win right now, too.
They brought in a 5-star recruit next year at wide receiver too. So that's also another one too. It's like they're recruiting right now, which again, I said this time and time again, that was the biggest problem with Dino Babers' era. They did a pretty good job of developing talent into NFL players. They were horrible at recruiting, horrendous recruiting under Dino Babers. Fran Brown has them recruiting at a level they'd never done before. So getting talent in the building is like half the battle in college football nowadays. Fran Brown is doing that. Should still have a solid passing attack. Maybe not the leading passer in college football like Kyle McCord, but just still be a solid one next year. I am worried about the defensive line though. So Syracuse's defensive line last year, 67.8 grade as a unit. That was 99th in the country. Making matters worse, they lost their star edge rusher in Fadil Diggs, who's now in the NFL, and a freshman D tackle, Murad Watson, last year was a really solid player. He transferred over to Texas. So you lose two of your best defensive linemen, maybe your two best defensive linemen from last year's team are both gone from a defensive line that was already 99th in PFF grade last year. I'm worried about that defensive line this year for Syracuse.
No, I agree with that, especially when you talk about it was already not a great unit, and then you lose arguably your two best players out of it. That is tough. And again, we're always talking about trenches. Syracuse's O-line and D-line, for me, are things to be a little bit concerned about here.
So tell me more about Steve Angeli, who had a really good 82.3 PFF grade last year at Notre Dame, but of course it was on limited duty as a backup.
Yeah, I mean, you had mostly mop-up duty. You had the best moment came when he had the field goal drive when Riley Leonard came out of the Penn State game and he led the field goal drive to kind of give Notre Dame a little bit of momentum going into halftime. He's only made one career start, their bowl game 2 years ago against Oregon State. Won that game. Oregon State wasn't playing with a whole lot on the field, but Steve Angeli, In this, I guess in the same way that you want to talk about Kyle McCord, you need to be just a sound, on-time pocket passer. That's what Angeli's going to be. Look, 91 career dropbacks, 0 turnover-worthy plays. He's going to win with vision. He's going to win with timing. He's going to win with accuracy. Throws under 2.5 seconds in his career. 83.5 passing grade, 4 touchdowns. So it's a thing of he's going to be an on-time, fundamentally sound pocket passer, which makes sense when you consider that Kyle McCord's job last year was to run the RPOs, to throw the ball down the seams on time and get rid of the ball quickly because, again, the pass protection wasn't great. Now, I would describe Steve Angeli as high floor, low ceiling. He can get the job done. He can make the right throws. I don't know if he will turn into the super gunslinger that Kyle McCord did. Maybe. We'll have another fun season like that. I don't know if we'll break the ACC passing record again. But, I think that's what you have with Angeli is a guy who can go in there, and the word is probably reliable. He can make the right throws and make them accurately. He's just not going to give you a whole lot when it comes to extending plays or anything like that.
So, I don't know how much you watch Rickie Collins, but Bill Dotrey makes out a very good point. Rickie Collins was sent to ACC Media Days, not Steve Angeli.
Well, then I didn't watch Collins a ton because it's honestly not.
He's toolsier, I know, than Steve Angeli. I know he's a former 4-star at LSU. Didn't play that much at LSU, but he's got more tools than Angeli. But it's just, I think Angeli's a higher floor player. Collins is more of the boomer bust player.
You wonder if it's Angeli early, depending on what it looks like in practice, because that's all starting this week, right? Depending on what it looks like in practice, because Angeli's got at least a little bit of experience. The other thing, too, though, we need to point out with Angeli, we have more tape on him, which is why we spotlighted him, but he was in a 3-man race for the Notre Dame starting job, and he's the one of the 3 that got cut in the spring. Yeah. He left Notre Dame because he didn't beat out C.J. Carr and Kenny Minchie, and Notre Dame felt like they could move on without him. So maybe it will be Collins. Maybe Collins will be the guy, and they play the upside. If he's obviously more athletic than Angeli, then so be it. There's a chance that we see them both. That's going to be a fun quarterback battle to watch even through the next few weeks.
How I describe it is Angeli has way less tools than Rickie Collins, but he's a higher floor player. Collins has a big arm, good mobility, but he's more of a boomer bust player right now. So I think that's how I describe it. So it's a matter of what they want to look for in that offense between a high floor distributor in Steve Angeli, or are you going for the more toolsier player in Rickie Collins? But it is a good point by Bill Daughtry in the chat that Rickie Collins did go to media days, and it's worth mentioning that Fran Brown was pretty committed to Rickie Collins as a starter before Angeli got there. It remains to be seen what he feels like now with Angeli there too. So
I think that's something you find out in practice too.
Yeah.
Has Angeli he hasn't practiced yet, has he? We haven't seen him in a single practice at Syracuse. So if he's winning that job, he's winning it in the next month.
Yeah, he really could. I think it'll be interesting. I think it's still a battle's ongoing right now. So I don't think saying either of them is going to be the starter is correct, because I think it will be an ongoing battle even into the season too. But it is worth pointing out both those guys, because I think it is important that both those guys are going to be probably seeing the field probably at Syracuse next year. All right, their star offensive player, in our opinion, is Darrell Gill Jr. So they lost their top 3 pass catchers to the NFL. Gill should be the top weapon in 2025. He's a tall player, 6'3", very strong hands. He never dropped a pass in his career. He's also caught 12 of his 18 contested targets in his career too, which is in the 100th percentile for FBS wideouts in the last 2 years in that span. He really turned it on down the stretch of the year too. In the final 3 games of the season for Syracuse, he had a combined 335 receiving yards. So basically 110 yards per game in the final 3 games of the year. He really turned it on for Cuse down the stretch, and now projects as the top receiver for Syracuse next year.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you're replacing a lot when you look at it. You go, Trevor Pena went to Penn State. Aronde Gadsden is gone. Jackson Meeks is gone. LaQuint Allen out of the backfield. Didn't he lead the nation in catches out of the backfield?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, you're talking about really your top 4 guys from last year are all off of this team. So Gill is going to have to be the guy that steps up. Started to do it late last year, but they need somebody, especially for as much as at least last year they wanted to throw the ball vertically. They got to win deep downfield.
Definitely. All right, Dolan. Deuce Chestnut, who was a guy that was at Syracuse when I was actually there at Cuse, transferred over to LSU, transferred back to Syracuse, and now he's a pretty solid player once again for the Orange.
Fun career. That's a fun one. Syracuse down to Baton Rouge, back to Syracuse. That's two different types of towns right there.
Two different climates for sure.
Two different climates for sure. At least the Cuse are in the dome, right? But no, I mean Deuce Chestnut, just a solid player, right? Especially for Cuse this past year, 75.6 coverage grade this past year. They had, he was a corner. Now he's back to safety after playing corner his first 3 seasons. Made the adjustment pretty well. He's a smart player, knows what he's doing, high football IQ, gets to the football, reads the quarterback's eyes well. And I think it's just sometimes a case of a player getting to the right position. We see this a lot of times in college where it's, is he a corner? Is he a safety? What else we saw that with Andrew Makuba going over to Texas, moving over to safety full time. So it can happen where a guy just moves to a certain position and things start to click for him. I think that's the case with Deuce Chestnut, and you get one more year of him here.
Yeah, 81 PFF grade in his first 2 years at Cuse, playing outside corner, goes over to LSU, barely plays at LSU in his 1 year there, transfers back to Syracuse. He plays safety for Syracuse last year after playing outside corner. Usually it's a safety playing a little slot corner. He played outside corner, then safety. Still a great player for Syracuse defense last year too. So Deuce Chestnut, really welcome back in that Syracuse program with open arms, considering how good he was for that program. Dalton, again, 10-3 record last year. Win total is set at 5.5, though, because this schedule is freaking brutal. If you want to see the Syracuse schedule right now, they open with Tennessee, which is a neutral site game. And then they also have at Clemson, at SMU, at Georgia Tech, at Miami, at Notre Dame.
Well, and home games, not easy home games against Duke and Pitt and North Carolina and BC. I mean, this is about as hard as an ACC schedule gets, plus a Tennessee game out of conference.
And plus, they barely beat UConn last year, too.
And UConn's a good football team.
And they beat UConn, and they play UConn again this year.
Shout out Max Toscano.
True.
I think just UConn's
the Max Bowl on September 6th. That's huge.
Oh, good call.
Yeah, we're going to hit him in the DMs. Maybe we could do something for that game. It'll be fun.
Oh, yeah, we got to make a bet. All right, if Toscano's watching, we got to make a bet with him.
Yeah.
I'm not involved in this, and neither one of you is playing. Actually, I don't know if UConn might be playing FAU this year. I don't know, but we'll find out. Well, we got maybe we'll get the round robin thing one day, like the commander-in-chief.
Oh, yeah. That'd be fun. Over-under for Syracuse is 5.5.
I'm going under. Instability at quarterback. Top 4 pass catchers gone. D-line's a concern. Brutal schedule. I'm going under 5.5 here. I do like the long-term approach that Fran Brown's taking with this recruiting. I just think last year was the perfect storm of everything great that could possibly happen at Syracuse. This year, it's just they're a young football team, especially on offense, and this is nuts. So what I'm looking at here, this is by far the hardest. And I think you mentioned at Notre Dame too. I mean, just there's a lot going on here. I'm going to take the under. If they do, I'll tell you what. If they make a bowl game on this schedule, just a bowl game, not even 10 like they did last year, Fran Brown's got that program rolling.
Yeah.
And I don't think this year, even if they don't make a bowl, I don't think it's an indictment on him. This is the perfect storm of things I wouldn't want to happen for this program this year.
Yeah. That's why sometimes when people I was one of them who was loving Fran Brown after the 10-3 record last year.
Sure.
Pump the brakes a little bit considering how easy the schedule was. The Miami win was huge. But also this year, it's almost like...
Well, but they had a talented team. That was a talented football team. It was several NFL players on that team.
But what I'm saying
this year, I'm not sure they have.
I understand people pumping the brakes on last year. I also want to say pump the brakes if they have a bad year this year because this schedule is brutal.
Yeah.
This is as hard of a schedule as you'll find in the ACC this year.
He got him relevant last year. Now he's going to start building long-term with the recruiting.
Yes.
You got faith he knows how to win games.
Yeah.
You don't just go winning 10 games at Syracuse nowadays. It's not easy.
So I'll go under 2. I hate going under on my Orange, but
your brother's going to be mad at you.
My brother's going to be pissed. But this is my brother who's a rising junior at Syracuse right now, by the way. I'll go under, but just because the schedule's brutal. This is such a hard schedule.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So I'll go soft under 5, I'll go 5 and 7 for Cuse next year, unfortunately. Hey, thanks for watching another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Please make sure you guys subscribe to the channel.
Also, subscribe to PFF Plus at subscribe.pff.com for all of the same data and grades that we use in our show, plus fantasy tools, betting tools, and our mock draft simulator.